Is there anyone from the administration online that can talk about the progress being made at the tow yard?
No, no administration. Let's see.
Oh, that's
Sheila
smart.
is getting ready to enter. I don't know if she has any. You can go ahead and let her.
Okay, we'll let her get in so we can kind of get some information about the tow yard and its progress. And I think we talked about the location of the tow yard being right there at Coit and Euclid. So we'll make sure that's still the location, and what operations have already been placed in motion, and how soon can we receive, how soon can we start receiving vehicles? What are the requirements that are still outstanding? Are the police officers or the persons that are going to manage that thing already been hired? Have the standard operating procedures been established? What, if any, regulatory requirements must the council meet to make sure that we are, meeting Ohio, the state guidance, county guidance, and the basic operations for a tow yard in a great city?
Well, I'm confused.
Madam Vice?
Yeah, I'm confused because I don't understand how we gonna store some cars, and y'all gonna hear this because I hear it. I don't understand how we gonna open up a tow yard in a city full of rats, and rats is gonna be up in them cars. I mean, this to me is just too much dysfunction. I don't understand how we're doing that. I don't understand how people are proposing to build new buildings when everybody know a rat will eat up some cement. So I don't understand how we're proposing to do all these things, but we haven't done the very basic. We haven't cleaned our house. And I mean, it's just very basic. They're very basic things that you have to do before you go bite off these big chunks of things that people want to do, but there's no paperwork on them. So
I somewhat agree. For the last couple of months. So I want to know where they are with it, if it is indeed going to be a reality, if the location is going to change, if the police, I guess, secretary is going to be basically running the show. And is this something that the police force in East Cleveland is already staffed to handle? Because it's my understanding they've been short for that. I never heard them say they were at full capacity. So I just want to know some of the specifics on the front side before that thing, get the lights turned on. And I know that he talked about getting some fencing already done. So where are we with that? So yes, I am concerned. It's something we need to talk about.
But when do we have these conversations? Because the last conversation I remember was when Kuffner put their bid in and the tow yard was a part of that bid. I mean, did a bid go through that got approved?
No,
that's a negative.
All right. Thank you.
So, yeah, we still got some work to do. Yes, Mr. President.
Madam Law Director is on the line. Maybe she can shed some light on the subject.
I'm sorry, I'm not a part of that discussion. I haven't been involved in the vision, the inception, or the planning, and I wouldn't do it justice if I began to put in my 2 cents at this point, because
Thank you for your honesty.
But I'm sure, is the mayor on the line?
No, he hasn't logged in.
Okay, because I reminded him when I left a few minutes ago.
Oh, there he is. He's getting ready.
Oh, okay. Oh, please, yeah, please allow him, Mayor. They would like some insight into the tow yard, and I was unable to give them to give it.
He's just now logging in, so he hasn't popped in yet.
Yeah, I don't want to do any injustice to the project in light of my ignorance of it.
Mayor King? You may have a issue with his audio. He was having problems before. We're not hearing you, Mayor King.
There might be a phone number. He might have to also have the phone as well as video.
As a code of that, so. Nothing yet.
Nothing yet.
Okay, can we move on?
Okay. Well, the tow yard was one of the things I wanted to talk about. I also wanted to have an update on some of the property transfers from the East Cleveland Land Bank, because it's my understanding there's been a whole lot of them. And some of those transfers go through the visioning plan. And I wanted, because the tow yard should be a part of that visioning plan as well. And this kind of leads into some of the discussion about that visioning plan that has already been released. So there's a draft visioning plan that I haven't received any information about. And these property transfers that, according to a person that really cares and they get to see the transactions on a regular basis, there's a lot of transfers going on right now. And, I don't want to wake up one day and, it's too far down the line before somebody that cares enough has
Well,
background information.
Are these property transfers following the charter, or are they just selling, or property just being sold? Because there's a process that the property is supposed to follow, and I haven't seen that process at work yet.
Right. So, and you won't see it at work unless we start saying a little bit more about seeing what we're supposed to see. It's okay to see a couple of them limited neighbor next door transfers and council presiding over them, but it's a whole lot more transfers that the council are not necessarily seeing and possibly should have the right to see and start asking the right questions. So that's the place I find myself today, asking the right questions and getting a little bit more informed about the way ahead.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I really appreciate that. I'm just sitting back, waiting patiently. That was part of my questions that I just asked, that I just informed Dr. Guy that I would be sending her. Because I believe we would all like to know what's going on with the land bank lots. We all would like to know who is in control as of today of the land bank lots. As you just stated, and I also been getting plenty phone calls from people trying to purchase lots. They are saying that they have submitted their application, but the process has stopped. Dr. Guy, I want to have Dr. Guy put in writing these questions that we have. Who is in control of the land bank right now? What's going on with the NAC, and why is it not being why is it being ineffective right now? Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, I will also put in a recommendation that all commercial properties go through the RFP process. Dr. Guy, I want you to seeing that out. I believe that that's very, very important, and I believe that we need all of this in writing.
Can we add a question? I think.
Yeah, as soon as I get done, I'm making a. I will also be making a public request for building a housing to share with us and send us all emails relating to the land bank, because I'm pretty sure our Madam Vice President has the same concerns, but I have the same concerns as our chair, Timothy Austin. Thank you, Madam Vice President. Thank you, Councilman Austin.
Thank you, Brother President. Madam Vice?
One of the questions that's permeating my brain is, I know that you spoke about an RFP, Mr. President,
Yes,
but I
ma'am.
believe the charter speaks specifically to the process that's supposed to unfold with regard to this property situation. If it is if it is outside of the neighbor next door program or a program such as that. I believe the charter speaks to the fact that this property has to be a public notice put in a newspaper, and we have to go through a whole process like the president was saying, but I'm not seeing any of that.
I agree.
So now that the mayor has joined us, I want to go back to the tow yard update, and we are going to revisit the property issue. Mayor King, welcome to the Zoom meeting for contracts and property. Sir, if you would give us an update on the tow yard, I really appreciate it. Mayor King.
Sorry. Hello, counselors.
Greetings. How are you?
How's everybody doing? Sorry I'm late. Business never ends, so I'm just tying up some loose businesses. And as you can see, the commander, thank you, Commander. The commander's just leaving. So you want an update on the tow yard? We're at the tow yard this morning. Huh?
Go ahead.
We're at the tow yard this morning with some more contractors and vendors to get the lighting situated, and that will help with electricity and cameras, and to get the whole setup done. To order these poles is going to take 6 weeks, and I was like, wow, man, 6 weeks to get the light poles, and then we got to trench the electricity because the wooden poles that are in the lot are CEI poles, and we can't jump electricity off of CEI poles. So the tow yard is still a couple weeks out. On the 31st of this month, the fencing contractor who's already inked in is to start the installation of the fence. And we're going to use the police command vehicle to give us some shelter and a place for someone to stay, and then take the tickets in and administer the release of the vehicles. Everyone hear me okay with that?
Yeah, I hear you.
What police
So
command
that's my update, unless you had any other questions on that.
Well, I got some questions.
Okay.
My questions, Mayor, are going to be the same question that you're going to hear every time you start to build anything in this city. Everybody knows, like I stated to the council earlier, that we have an infestation here, and that infestation is rats. Now we're talking about putting a tow yard up where we're gonna be piling up cars, and now here's another area for rats to accumulate, feed. I mean, because they'll eat car parts, they don't have a problem with that, etc. And so I'm very concerned that we have not done our housekeeping. We have not put anything in place to take down this animal infestation that we have, but we are constantly putting things in place that's going to contribute to the infestation. And people are living here and their homes are getting ate up. And I'm getting these calls, I mean, about this infestation, and now we're talking about a tow yard. Pretty soon we'll be talking about building houses. And like I told council earlier, everybody knows that a rat will eat cement. So, I mean, to me, it seems that we have the cart before the horse, because we need to do some basic housekeeping kinds of things in this city, and they're not happening.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Mayor King.
Would you like me to respond to that?
Response right now.
Okay. First of all,
Go ahead, sir.
First of all, thank you, Council Vice President, for your questions, your comments, your concerns. Might I start off by addressing it in this fashion? I totally disagree with you on the concern that we're not doing anything to address infestation. We are absolutely doing our best to counter 30, 40, 50 years of growth in groundhogs and other vermin throughout the city. As we've stated numerous times, and I'll state it again, the county will help residents with individual infestation with rats and mice. We are addressing the groundhogs. For those of you who are well aware of mice, rats, roaches, they are a function of your cleanliness. If you do not feed them, they will not bother you. My father told me that when I was that big. He said, hey man, you want to get rid of these roaches in the house? Stop feeding them. Don't give them anything to eat. So when residents tell you that they're being hampered in that way, right, it is a function of their cleanliness and the fact that they're feeding them. Now, mice don't eat through concrete. That's simply not true. So,
Wow,
this tow yard, I live right here in East Cleveland. If you see a mouse,
you don't, Mr. Mayor. Don't go there.
see a mouse eating through concrete, you send me a video of it. I'd like to see that. What I'd like for you to understand is that we are moving this city forward, and a tow yard is part of that moving it forward. Now, will we have a rodent issue that we have to deal with down there? Absolutely. Will we address the rodent issue down there? Absolutely. Should we not do this because of a rodent issue that we have in the city in general? I disagree with that.
That's not what I said. That is not what I said. What I said is that we need to take care of our basic things before we go off and start investing our money into these other avenues. Now,
Council Vice President, we are addressing these issues. We have the ground.
If we are addressing them, Mayor, why do we still have this infestation? I mean, I've been living here for almost 30 years, and my neighborhood is infested. My constituents' neighborhoods are infested. You're telling me about the health department, and when you call the health department, Mr. Mayor, they tell you about a brochure. You're speaking of the cleanliness in the city, Mr. Mayor. I have reported time and time again places where people are literally dumping garbage and nothing has been done about it. None of these people have been taken to court. I digress.
Thank you, Madam Vice. Hey, Mayor King, let me say one thing before we get too far gone.
Because I was getting ready to go there. I'm offended by that.
Mayor
I don't know why you're offended. I don't know why you're offended. It's not my staff that don't take the people to court. I've got a litany of emails that I've sent with regard to trying to clean up.
You know what it is? I forgot you've been on vacation, so you missed the whole report from the groundhog guy and his mom that was in here talking about how many groundhogs they caught.
Well,
right?
They ain't caught none. They haven't caught any in this area.
Well, hold on one second. Madam Vice, Mayor King.
Yeah.
Let me share some notes.
You're right.
I actually went to that table. I was there at the table speaking with the groundhog guy and his mom, who's more like his executive assistant than his mom at that point. And what they shared is that they actually had a number of something like 600 groundhogs and or vermin captured, and he let me know that they don't catch and release. He is, I guess, respectfully terminate everything that gets in one of his the service in an area, let's say move from one area to another area, it has to be an exception. And what certain residents have done to assist in capturing and reducing the numbers of vermin, they have purchased cages for about $28 from Home Depot or other supply locations. And as their cage is filled with an animal, they would call the number, and that number will allow them to their cage either spit out or that vermin recovered and obviously disposed of properly. So there has been some work done in that area. And however, Madam Vice President, I agree with you 100% because I've had multiple calls about the lack of response from the health department in getting rid of mice that have, infested certain homes. So there is a citizen investment required. So there is a process that they will take you through and not just send somebody out there with some poison to terminate the mice. That's not how it works. So there is some more effort required. And how we get there, this meeting may not get us to that place where we get a solution to that. But no, the health department didn't do all the things that I expect them to do for $5 per resident per year for helping us terminate mice. So yeah, they're going to give you some processes and talk about procedures and tell you, do this to your foundation. Yeah, that's all well and good, but it doesn't necessarily get rid of what I got going on right now. It helps me in the future. So more to follow on that. But as far as the tow yard, I want to, Mayor, if you could give me 2 pros and 2 cons, things that the council can actually help you with. And then we want to see if there is a plan or some drawings that we can take a look at. This is the way it is right now, and this is what we want to have it turn into. There's going to be a $10,000 a year benefit to the city. Our residents are going to be appreciated, represented like this. These are I know the tow fees, if we go with Kufner, are well out of, I gotta say, the median tow cost, because they were a lot more than the other agencies that were. And also, tell us what those storage fees are, so we kind of have an idea, so we kind of build the right mindset. And this is not going to be a yard where a rat got 2 weeks to eat somebody's car. No, that's not it. This is a place where you get your vehicle towed, you resolve the issue, you pick up your vehicle, and you keep it moving. We don't want to establish this as a place for, months and months of whatever. And I think we talked before about having, after your car is here so long, that sucker is going up for sale. If you don't get it out in a certain amount of time, those are the things that the council need to know. So when our residents come to us and say, these are our problems with this tow yard, we have already been provided the solution or your perspective on how we resolve the issue. So those are the things we want to talk about as it pertains to the tow yard. There's going to be some issues. Some vermin, somebody might break in, but if the police are making their rounds, rotating and acting like sentries, where you pass every so often, there's somebody going by there all the time, because we don't want to further burden a scarce system as it is. So share a couple of pros, a couple of cons, kind of give us some background as to how this came to be. Thank you, Mayor.
So, Chairman, Council, let me apologize to all of y'all. I know I get a little testy sometimes, and I get kind of upset, right? So the Council Vice President, when you say stuff like that, it sends me right over the edge. Ain't nothing being done. Open your eyes. Plenty of stuff's being done. But beyond that, let's do this. Let's continue to work together to solve these problems. So what I would really like is when we get back to a place where you're coming into these meetings so you can hear what's going on from our seat to the tow yard and how we're looking to develop it. What I will do, if Dr. Guy can't find it, I will find the PowerPoint that I had some college students do a number of years ago that would show you the potential that the city could make from a tow yard. What I do know is that month over month, since we have seemingly started using Kufner and stopped using St. Clair, we're up over $10,000 in revenue from towing. Now the bid still isn't finalized, and we still don't have a contracted tow company, so technically the police or fire, who's ever towing, can use whatever company they want. We don't have a contract yet. They're still working on the bid. Now, we'll make money on the tows. We'll make money on the storage. I'm not sure what the daily rate is. If I had to guess, it's maybe $20 to $30 a day beyond 2 days storage fees. And then after, and this we had in the meeting, after the statute, and I think it's the state statute that says 30 days, if you don't come and get it, they can start the process to get a dummy title and scrap the vehicle. One of the things that I'm sure, if you're fielding complaints from residents, I'm sure they've been complaining about is cars that have been getting towed all over the city. We're towing cars sitting on the main street with 4 flats, right? We were towing a boat last week, had a plate on it 12 years old. The guy like, oh, I was just getting ready to do this. Yeah, you just getting ready to do it 12 years ago. Residents all over the city are calling, complaining about cars sitting there. Basically, these cars are abandoned. They don't have proper tags, don't have proper registration. So we're going to clean a lot of that up for the residents, right? So yes, this tow yard should make the city some money, money that is being generated off of the city, but the city is not seeing that money because the tow yard we're using, Kuffner's, is out in Willoughby or Lakewood or somewhere. I'm not sure where Kuffner's is at. So yeah, we would make money. We will deal with the rodent issue, right? No worries. We'll deal with that. If you want to deal with the rodent issues in your neighborhood, kindly make an appointment to come into my office, and I'll help you solve that in your neighborhood. Did I get all your...
Do you have any drawings for the end state of the lot? This is going to be the fence line. This is going to be the entry point, access point.
Actually, we do.
Okay. Any way you can share that with the council, please?
Actually, we do. So what I'd have to do, because the camera guy was in here yesterday, and he shared this with me. So let me see if I can get Nikki, I think you know Nikki, to draw up or to blow up something like this on the computer, and that way I can give to you and I can show you where the fence is going to be and the new lights that we're putting up. The place, we're going to light it up pretty well, get a security dog over there or 2, right? And another thing, just so that we are all aware of this, right, before the issue comes up. Law-abiding residents, I believe that the term we love to use is sensible. No, what's the cliche for residents that are rational and reasonable? Won't get their car towed. I'd ask anybody on the phone, when's the last time you had your car towed? The average resident is not getting their car towed. The bad actors are the people who are getting their cars towed, not average residents. I believe that was all your questions on the tow yard, unless there's something I missed or you wanted further clarification on.
Can you tell us how much it's gonna cost to set this whole thing up and get it running, trucks and all?
Now that's a great question. So what we're planning on doing, is setting up the tow yard more as an enterprise fund, so it'll be a self-sustaining fund. We had the finance department set aside $100,000 to use to get this enterprise fund up and running. To date, I want to say the fence is maybe 22, 23. The lights will probably be installed somewhere around the same. We're actually taking the police command vehicle and we're going to use that as a staging area until we can figure out what we want to do on the inside of that building. We've gotten a couple quotes, and those quotes are anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000 to clean it out and then put a roof on there. So we're not absolutely sure what we're going to do in that regard. But the idea is to have this facility start to generate money, and then operate out of the money that it's generating. Now, we don't anticipate having tow vehicles. So Councilman Martin was in here today with the guy next door at the auto parts place, and he was actually looking at starting a tow company, getting tow trucks to tow for the city, you know, not now, but like maybe 6 months, a year down the road. And we said that would be great, because I don't see the city wanting to buy tow trucks, right? We just need a tow yard, not the truck. So outside tow companies would still tow the vehicles, but they would tow them here in the city. Right now, people who get their cars towed have to go clear over to Lakewood to get them back. So we're not really looking at getting tow trucks and towing the vehicles ourselves. We're just looking at managing a tow yard.
Okay. All right. Mayor, any other questions or concerns about the tow yard itself? Seeing none. Mayor, if you could be so kind as to take a look at the current East Cleveland land bank and the transfer of some properties have been going on, and just talk about the way ahead and where we are as that pertains to the visioning plan and those transfers.
So, over the last month, I am unaware of any properties being transferred. Now, if they transfer, it would be some legislation that council has passed months and months ago. Council hasn't passed any transfers in at least all summer, right? And then when we talked maybe a month ago, we put a moratorium on neighbor next door transfers. So I'm not aware of anything that's transferred out of the city land bank. My understanding is that it has to come through council. So we have to educate each other
and
on
that moratorium.
Well,
I got you.
Is
Hold
there
on
a
one second, please,
resolution
Madam
for the
Vice. This moratorium.
So we put a soft moratorium on it until we can get council back up and running, and so that council would understand what we're working on from an administrative perspective to try to get this neighbor next door thing solid. And the chairman of this committee, Councilman Austin, is up to speed on what we're working on. And that is so that we combine it here, because I only know of one person who purchased a neighbor next door who's actually combined the parcels. Everybody else is leaving them separate.
Hello?
Yes.
Hello? Can you hear me? Yeah.
I
As
can.
far as the process for neighbor next door, the process does need to be revisited because it's not working in its current state and it's misleading. Because if you tell me I could buy a lot under the neighbor next door program for $100 and it's really going to cost me $450 to complete the process, that's misleading. So that does need to be fixed, and it needs to be fixed immediately. However, there have been some neighbor next door requests and applications that have already been submitted and or paid for that have been sitting since March. So without, I guess, information as to justification why it's still sitting. So I recommended that we continue with those packets that are in the process under the process in which they were respectfully grandfathered in. So moving forward, we need to fix the process so it's not misleading, because it is indeed misleading. That's why some of those lots haven't been properly combined as they should be. And there is some information that I started reading to understand why certain parcels required a survey and certain did not. The ones that required a survey were those that were not clearly defined with their left and right limits or their boundaries. Like if there's two houses and both of them want a piece of that lot, they got to do a survey because they only get half a piece if they don't agree. So that's when a survey is required. But if the lines are clearly defined, they don't necessarily need to get that survey. And I wanted to make sure we get clarification between us and the recorder's office so that it reflects according to the facts and not just an assertion and or assumption. So I am aware that there is an update or some information that's required to make it clear what is required and who has to pay what. So more to follow, but the ones that are open and already submitted and or paid for, they need to go forward. That's what's fair and that's what's right. So I don't know, Mayor King, if you want to add to that?
So, Councilman, I'm totally on board with that. And it's the council's pleasure and your pleasure because it's your committee. But those properties that are in question, you know, by the time we get done, they'll be there. Then they're not going to move one way or the other. And if a resident is using a parcel, you know, you get a lot of residents, they've planted a garden or they've already been maintaining it. So, I mean, there's no harm, no foul. Either way, it's your pleasure. You want to move those. Let's identify the ones that are in the process so that we can then just take them all the way through. No worries.
I agree. As far as the other, there's been plenty of transfers that were not necessarily on the agenda or forwarded through council. And those are the ones that I wanted to make sure we kind of do a better job at tracking, whether it's, you know, respectfully that piece of property right at the end of Coit where the new lot is going to be, the new tow yard is going to be. How did that transfer? And share that kind of stuff so we all have a better understanding of that process. Things that are beneficial to the city, how they're acquired, and how do they reflect with the visioning plan? I think we discussed how we're going to use Eastwood Avenue as our pristine thoroughfare.
I can address that now. So what happens is, and Councilman, I know you follow this because you buy property from sheriff sale or the tax lien sale. The Al Paul's, there used to be Al Paul's when I was a kid, that car wash came to us from the tax lien sale. So it went up for sale, nobody bought it, it went up for sale again. And at that point, the county takes it and they either put it in the county land bank, Cuyahoga County Land Bank, or in the city's land bank. Now this one just happened to come to the city's land bank, right? So that transfer, because the county is still doing tax lien sales and bank lien sales. So those are transferring that way. But there's been nothing to come out of the city's land bank. And keep in mind, when I say out of the city land bank, if it goes from East Cleveland Land Bank to the county land bank, that's technically still our land bank. Okay?
Well, if it's our land bank, then how come we don't have all the information? Like, how come we don't know? Councilor Austin is saying that property is moving. So how come we don't know? You know?
Well, I guess the best answer I could give to that is they publish the sheriff sales on like a regular basis, and then they publish the tax lien sale. So if you're watching those, and to be honest with you, Council Vice President, I don't watch them. Ever so often, they'll send over a list of properties for me to sign for that have made it through either the tax lien, the foreclosure process, and then I forgot the state forfeiture process as well. So they send over documents for me to sign, taking some parcels into our land bank through those three measures. And I have no forward knowledge that that's coming until the day it shows up, unless I'm watching the tax lien sales. but the process is what I need to get everyone to understand. These three processes happen, and that's how they wind up in our land bank. I hope that made sense. I hope I explained that well. I wish we were on My Place. If we were on My Place, I could pull up a particular parcel like the Al Paul, and I could just show you how it transfers, and then you'd see it, and it would also have the dates on there, and a lot of times, you know, we're running around here chasing a bunch of other things. So like I say, I find out when they send it over for me to sign it. Does that help, Council Vice President?
I don't know. I think that I think we can probably make it clearer. I know I understand how to use My Place, but I don't know if everybody does.
Yeah, do you know how to use the sheriff's website?
Yes.
So the sheriff's website, if you go there and you put in East Cleveland, it'll show you all the parcels coming up.
Right.
Right? And then usually 30 days after that is when I get the document saying, hey, sign these. And really, I don't want to sign them because as long as they're in the county's name, then the county has to pay the 12, we say anywhere from $600 to $1,200 a year in grass cutting. So the county maintains that as long as it's in their name. So sometimes I'm looking at it like, oh, we got more stuff to cut. What else we got?
Counselor Austin? Dr. Guy?
Yes?
Counselor Austin disappeared.
Uh-oh. I guess he'll be calling in.
What else do we have on here? If it's just me and you, Council Vice President, we can clear up a lot of things that may be a little unclear to you.
Where is everybody else at?
We're here.
Oh, okay. I'm like, well, I don't see nothing. I don't see nobody.
Yeah, all I see is myself. I don't know everybody else must not be having pictures.
Mm-mm. So what's our next agenda item? I can't even see
Ours
the
for the public, but we have no public on the line.
Okay.
So Councilor Smith,
Yeah, I was getting ready to ask, is he on there?
Councilor Smith. He's there, but I don't know if he's muted right now.
Okay. What else we got? Hey, where are we at on the agenda?
I guess we can move the legislation. Since we don't have any remarks from the public, we'll have to make this decision.
Do we still have a quorum?
Yeah, I mean, Council President is there, but his audio is muted. I don't know.
He may just be listening in, huh? Okay.
Yeah. So you all can move forward with the discussion of the ordinances.
Can you repost the agenda? Because I don't see it. It's gone.
It's on my screen. No, share my screen. You don't see it?
Nope. Uh-oh. Nope, I don't see nothing. Jeez.
Let me see what's going on with our council. That's Counselor Austin calling. Counselor? Okay. Okay. All right. Bye-bye. Okay, he's gonna try to call back in his phone. His phone died on him. You see the screen, Counselor? Counselor Stevenson?
Huh?
You see the screen? I'm sharing my screen.
Nope. All I see is this one little, all I see is Zoom. I don't see nothing else.
I can see the agenda. I'm trying to figure out how to, got to kind of play with it to get the different functions. What we need to do is find some little kids. The little kids know how to work all this stuff.
Well, I got the agenda back.
So I looked at leasing it, and I found two options. The one for $7,000, it was too. It didn't really serve the function that we needed. The other one was $10,000, right? And both of them, then you have to buy a maintenance contract. So if you think at $10,000 a month, right? At 7 months, we will have paid for it. And when we go through the winter, right, we're looking at 4 months there, 5 months there before we get to next summer. So I was like, hey, at that kind of number, Council Vice President, I would just as soon buy it than to rent a thing and pay that kind of money to rent it and have to give it back. Right? And one of the things, let me tell you how I got it sold to my staff, because they were kind of lukewarm about it. And one of the guys that I called to get a quote from, he happened to call me a month after he had got back from vacation. He said, hey, I just wanted to circle back and let you know. He told us that since this COVID thing, that sales have gone up. And there's a 3-month wait period for this thing. So, and this was a month ago when we talked to him. So now we're probably looking at December before we can even get it. Because the demand has gone up for it. So I think we're on the right track of buying it, because it appears that other people are buying it to serve the same function, to keep people spaced out and out of their buildings. Councilman Austin?
He's frozen.
Yeah.
He's gone.
And now he's gone again.
Oh, wow.
And that's what happens with this technology. So it's just, we got to keep working through it, basically. So it's about safety, Council Vice President, and it's our way of trying to keep our employees as safe as possible, right? And we're still in the midst now of setting up some work from home so that they can work home. But building and housing, they're like, hey, some days we got to come in, right? Because there's some things we simply have to do here. Same thing with law. They're like, hey, some days, but most of the time we have to show up. My office, we have to show up. Building and housing, community development have to show up. And we all know that service, even though they're not necessarily stationed here, they have to show up. So there's a time during the day or week when all employees simply will show up in the building.
Wow.
Yeah, it's hard to shut down a government. Especially one like ours. When you think of the volume of activity, whether it's EMS, fire, police, it's hard to shut this thing down.
Don't make a mess. Put that down, Cameron.
All right, what are we gonna do here? Because Austin is gone. President Smith, are you there?
He's there, but his muting ability is dysfunctional for some reason.
Okay, so are we gonna move to the, what are we doing? Are we gonna move to the next function?
I think you can, because Smith is still on the line, so you still have a quorum. You can still move forward with the discussion with the mayor.
Well, the only other thing, Mayor, that I need to know is that with this scrap stuff, how much money do we make off of this stuff, and what do we do with this money?
So I'm glad you brought that up. And I was telling Councilman Austin, my concern is as we look at the back lot, as we look at the firehouse 2, as we look at the service, they've been stacking up vehicles and equipment for years. And I'm like, hey, man, we're out of space. You guys just can't keep sitting on this stuff. My biggest want is to trade whatever can be traded in, to trade it in and get something new. Now, we all know that when you trade it in, you don't get what you could get if you sold it, right? But that's what they tried to do in years past. Oh, we're just going to sell it on the open market. 5, 7 years later, it's still sitting over there on Eddy Road, or it's still sitting at Firehouse 2 over on Shaw. I'm like, no, we're going to take the $2 and get it off the lot, right? Make room, because you've been back there. You've been back there months ago when we were going through the whole thing with the reserved parking spaces. We're out of space back there. So my want, right, and again, it's my want, is to just trade what can be traded in, trade it in, and get something new. On the other equipment, I put down there sell, trade in, or scrap. So if council says, hey, we're going to pass all this legislation with the understanding that you spend 30 days trying to sell it. If you don't sell it in 30 days, then you can scrap it. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. As long as we have an out to get this equipment off of city property so that we can make room for new equipment.
So council can change the language however they desire on that legislation.
Yeah.
To reflect that.
Or council, you don't necessarily have to change the language. So we have a relationship that if you say, hey, don't sell it for 30 days, then that's just a verbal between us. I'm not gonna do anything to jeopardize the good working relationship that we have. So if you think back to the legislation that you passed last year in regards to the lease of the new snow plow and the fire truck, I never executed them. I said, look, let's just pass it.
That wasn't this council, Mayor.
Oh yeah, you're right. I forgot.
Okay, slow down. You're going too fast.
You're right. But I mean, I say that to say everything doesn't have to be here in black and white, because something like this, if you say, hey, try to sell it for 30 days, at the end of 30 days, I come back to you and then you give me a thumbs up, that will be fine. If you want it written in there, that's fine as well.
Well, I can't move it because I can't get another vote.
So in the committee meetings, there's soft moves. You don't have to physically vote on them. You've been doing
Right.
that, and that's great. But you know, the
Oh,
soft
wait,
move.
what is this? How many more items is on here?
Oh, there's a ton of items on here.
All of the vehicle purchases, Councilor Austin requested to be on here.
Do you know some of his questions? So I'll be more than happy to answer them 2 or 3 times. I don't mind. I don't mind at all.
We're gonna have to come back so that he can address this.
Okay. Do you have any questions on the vehicles?
I picked up my package and was looking through that. I'm gonna let Counselor Austin run with this one.
Okay. 'Cause I know many of them are emergencies, and the reason they're emergencies, we need to move these. The lead time on these vehicles is about 6 weeks as well. So it's just like,
Hello, Mr. Mayor, Counselor. Have Counselor Austin on the line. Can you hear?
The question I had about the vehicles was, I think we discussed you actually doing some trading for some of those vehicles. And I'm looking at legislation and seeing things in the body about having the authority to trade those vehicles in. I think that was most of the vehicles being traded. The legislation didn't say specifically about trading anything in.
Can you hear?
yeah, so he wanted to know about trading vehicles in.
Yes.
Yeah.
To say about trading vehicles being talked about.
Yeah, so again, trading it in, you usually don't get the top that you would get if you went outside and tried to sell it, but there's a number of vehicles that are sitting on our lots from years past that they have tried to sell and either no one sold them or for whatever reason it's still there. But to clear space, I would just like to trade it in and get rid of it. We're talking a couple $100 difference between selling it on the street or trading it in. We're not talking thousands, we're just talking a couple dollars. But it's the time value of money I'm trying to capture and the space that we desperately need.
Trade, especially when we say trade. I just want to add the word trade, if that trading in, if that is the overall intent, let's add that to the legislation, and then that way we'll be good to go.
So when I talked to Willa, I said, look, Willa, if you put in there trade, sale, scrap, right, that'll give us the option to do whatever. And once you pass it, if you say, hey, I know somebody who wants to buy this, they can buy it. We'll have that option. If we can trade it in, you say trade it in, I'll trade it in, we're done with it. If we can't do either and we have to scrap it, then all of that's captured in there so that we can effectively get rid of these vehicles. Because if you say trade it in and then we can't trade it in, then I got to come back to you for another piece of legislation. Whereas this captures the whole thing.
I support, but I just wanted to say trade in as one of those 3 options that you discussed. Is all I'm saying. So we're good to go.
Okay. 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 Any other questions on that?
Unfortunately, it was eating on my battery faster than I can get this sucker to charge. So I guess that's one of those things in the video. So more to try, I'll be back on in a couple of minutes and I think the phone got a little bit more charge on it.
Okay. Okay, you want to keep going through the other legislation?
Please do.
That's fine.
Okay, where are we? We're on,
We can just go right from the top and go down. We can start at ordinance 2220 and just go down.
ordinance 2220. You all already discussed the mobile restroom, correct? Or
Right.
Yeah, so when we get to that, we'll just skip it. So
We're just
2220. Oh, I'm sorry.
resolution number 2120 is authorizing the mayor to sell certain inoperable police vehicles, auction or scrap to dealers, sell the complete lot of salvaged city vehicles through competitive bidding requested by the police department. So this includes the 2002 Dodge Ram, the 2006 Crown Victoria, the 2003 Crown Victoria, and the 2011 Crown Victoria. Yeah.
So, go ahead.
Can you hear?
I heard some of it. If you could just repeat it, then I'll be certain as to what he's asking.
Are you going to be trading those?
So, you named 4 vehicles, and I don't have the vehicles in front of me, but technically, they're called a lot, so that if someone came in and they wanted to buy the lot, they could buy that whole lot. But there's one, and that's the paddy wagon, that I'm looking to trade in once the new paddy wagon becomes available. And again, we still got about a 4-week lead time before that vehicle's ready. So if in 4 weeks we do not find somebody to buy these 4 vehicles, then we'll trade that in and scrap the rest of it. So this just gives us options as to getting rid of all of these police vehicles.
And this will be all of them.
Well, not all of them, but all of them that are inoperable, and the paddy wagon, which is really inoperable. Plus, it broke down a couple times when we were doing our food pantry and our COVID testing. It broke down a couple times, so we need to get a new one.
I just want to make sure we got the legislation that will authorize us to do what we want to do. So if you want to add the word trading to that, piece of legislation as well, we'll be good to go. So if you come to that point, you won't have any problem with the authority to do so.
Absolutely. And I asked Willa to put it in there. She may have just overlooked that particular one.
What was that?
Resolution 2120 and trading in one of those vehicles.
Okay. Right. So we just need to add the language on that one for trading. Okay, number 20, resolution 2220-20, resolution authorizing the mayor to sell certain inoperable surplus vehicles through auction to scrap dealers or to sell the salvage city vehicles through competitive offers. And this is the requested by the Police Building and Housing. And the listing includes the 2003 Jeep, the 2012 Ford 3S Ecoline van, the 2003 Ford E350, and the same 2003 E350 different VIN number. Added the fire command vehicle, and the Helen S. Brown van, which I don't have the serial numbers for those two.
So as you can hear, Council Vice President and Council, we got a lot of vehicles that are sitting around taking up space. Half these vehicles don't run. You know, the command vehicle, the one they wrecked last year, has been sitting out in the back, and now it's sitting over on Shaw. One of the police vehicles that they mentioned was in an accident and could not be moved until the court case was done. Now the court case is done, and now it's just sitting there. We need to get rid of that. So we need to get rid of a lot of these vehicles. And the vehicle here that we're looking to trade in is actually two of them. The blue Jeep, we're looking to get our building and housing, our inspectors, we're looking to get them a Ford Transit. So we're looking to trade that in on that. The command vehicle, we're looking to trade that in and get the fire department another vehicle like a pickup truck, because we're moving over vacant commercial property to their purview so that they manage commercial vacant property. And you know what, now that I think about it, I think the service department's truck might be in here too. So Council Vice President, you'll remember at the pantry, the Ford 250 broke down at the pantry. So, I mean, these vehicles, we've gotten our use out of these vehicles. It's just now we need to get rid of them and bring in some new vehicles. Yeah, and again, we have the money through the CARES Act money, and 2 or 3 of the vehicles that I mentioned here are directly related to our response to COVID-19. So we've been using the police paddy wagon for food deliveries. We've been using the service vehicles for food delivery, COVID testing. So that allows us to now replace those vehicles with this money.
Not a problem.
Excellent.
Okay, the next one is resolution number 23-20. Now these say emergency, so you all need to consider these are emergencies. An ordinance, I'm sorry, this should say resolution to authorize the mayor to enter into lease or purchase agreements for the acquisition of city vehicles for the use of the fire department Silverado 2500 4x4 WT Crew Chevrolet.
Yes.
Okay, as reflected in Exhibit A. And it's supposed to be the mayor, sponsored by our council president. So these are the ones that were separated out.
Okay.
Fiscal Commission had a concern about couple of vehicles, and I don't want to bypass that. Some other colleagues missed the opportunity to hear the information that I had the privilege of understanding. So see, one vehicle we had already approved for one purchase of a vehicle for the warrant vehicle, and I think they moved to 2, and the second vehicle would be served to, was it by the fire, or was it an additional person, the police? Refresh me there.
So this vehicle right here would go into the fire department, and it would be used in their effort to then take over the registration and maintenance of vacant and abandoned commercial real estate in the city. So for those of you who were at the presentation from the fire department in Sandusky, they kind of gave us the roadmap on how to start going after some of those owners and get the property back into productive use. And those properties that we can't, the fire department would then be responsible for the board up, right? They need to map those parcels out in case they catch on fire. They know all about them. They know how to go in there and put them out. So they'll secure them, they'll maintain them. And that's what this vehicle will be used for. In the resolution prior to this, we are looking to trade in or scrap the old fire command vehicle. So this would be a replacement for that vehicle.
Okay, moving on. Okay, the next one is resolution number 24-20. A resolution to authorize the mayor to enter into a lease or purchase agreement for the acquisition of city vehicles for use by the service department, a Silverado 3500 with uplift, as reflected in Exhibit A attached. Declaring an emergency and requested by the mayor, sponsored by our council president. Change the sponsorship since it's in your committee, Counselor, if you want to do that.
Again?
So we can change that sponsorship since you all moved it to this committee. So I can make that change too if you want.
Or you can allow me to co-sponsor. I'm okay with it.
Okay.
Mayor King, if you want to share with us what the uplift is and how it may affect other vehicles.
Yes. So this is another trade-in, and this one is a direct response to our response to COVID-19 and our feeding the residents and testing the residents. So as many of you remember who came out to the food pantries, we had the service department with the service vehicles there. I drove the Ford 250 that we have, no power steering in it. So I'm sitting there like this, and I'm like, hey man, when are y'all gonna fix it? It's like, we're too busy working to fix it. Gotta get it fixed. So I'm looking to, in this previous legislation, to sell it, scrap it, or trade it in will help address that. And we like to trade it in and get a new vehicle down there. It'll basically be the same vehicle as the service director has now. It'll just be a smaller bed, but it'll be the same kind of vehicle. And it comes out of the COVID money because it's our response to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Could you talk about this? What is Usher Uplift? What is that all about?
Say that again, Counselor.
When you talk about the uplift, what does that uplift mean?
Okay, so the upfit on all these vehicles, you know how you buy a vehicle and it just comes off the lot as is. So the upfit would be the snow plow that goes on the front, the heavy duty shocks and springs, and then the salt spreader that goes on the back, and of course all of the lights that go on there. Now the dealerships, they don't do that work, but as a courtesy to the municipality, they can and will send it out to get done, right? And then so that when we come and pick up a vehicle, we pick it up and it's already finished. So if you remember last year, we had a number of vehicles done. The fire department, they went and picked it up and they took it themselves to get the upfit. The police, they elected to have it outfitted there, as well as Mr. Marshall's vehicle, he had it upfitted at the dealership. So that's what the upfit is.
Okay.
It just saves us time, that's all.
Okay, great. Any questions about that, anyone?
Okay.
Okay, great.
Resolution number 25-20 is an emergency. Resolution authorizing mayor to enter into a lease or purchase agreement for the acquisition of city vehicles for use by the Building and Housing Department for Ford Connect E9E passenger wagon, as reflected in A. It's requested by the mayor, sponsored by our council president.
Okay, let me jump right in. So many of you know we have that blue Jeep that I don't even know how old it is, doesn't really run that well, doesn't serve the city well. So we're looking to trade it in, as you heard about it in previous legislation, trade it in or sell it. But this, we're looking to buy a new vehicle for that department. So as we look and continue to move the entire city forward, we have to increase the capacity and the work product of the different departments. We've actually hired a part-time building inspector. His name is Armand. He's been working now 2 weeks, so they need something to drive, as well as Nikki, who's doing the collections, so that they don't have to use their personal vehicles. They can use a city vehicle, so when they show up, it'll say City of East Cleveland, Building and Housing. People will know exactly who it is, and they're not getting out of their personal cars. So that's what this vehicle is for. And again, I'd like to trade in that blue Dodge, but if we can't trade it in, I'd like to scrap it or sell it just to get rid of it, get it off the lot. Any questions
thank
on
you.
that? Okay.
Oh, yeah, I do want to make a caveat. We talked about last year giving the Building and Housing the authority to get the second vehicle that we've already authorized from last year. Want to make sure we kind of keep that on the, forethought, and get that vehicle for Building and Housing. Where are we with that, Mayor?
So I'm glad you brought that up. As we look to bring this vehicle in, right? We're going to take this vehicle and we're going to use this vehicle as the city's response to COVID-19, right? So as our response to COVID-19, we're going to use it to deliver food. We're going to use it to do COVID testing on the residents, right? And we're going to pay for it out of the CARES Act money. So I don't know who's all been following this, but this money has to be spent by the end of the year. Not accounted for. It's got to be out the door by the end of this year. And if you spend it on things that are going to mitigate, counteract, or prevent COVID-19, then that's a legitimate spend, and that's what we're going to do also with this vehicle. Now, the second vehicle, yes, we are there. We can buy a second vehicle, right? So as a juggling act, I don't know how many of you have heard of our Building and Housing Inspector, Dizdar. Dizdar is out on medical leave, and we're still not sure as to his return. So we have posted another job for a full-time building and housing, but a certified person. This one will have the credentials, so it'll cost us more money. So we're still looking to balance that and weigh that against bringing in the second vehicle. But yes, we do have money for that second vehicle, and yes, we can get it. Now it's a matter of juggling vehicle and employees so that we have somebody to drive it.
Okay, thank you.
The last one, resolution number 26-20 is an emergency. A resolution to authorize the mayor to enter into a lease or purchase agreement for the acquisition of city vehicles for the use of the police department for a Ford Transit 350 cargo van with uplift as reflected in Exhibit A, and declaring an emergency requested by the mayor and sponsored by our council president.
So councilors, this, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say I want to co-sponsor that and we can kind of talk about the left and right limits and kind of give councilors some background on the changes in cost and how we account for those things. Go ahead, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you. So, oh, that's my mom. So it should read upfit. It's cargo van with upfit. So the van itself, I want to say it was around $40,000. So if you think of just a box van, it's about $40,000. Now the prisoner insert is going to cost about $24,000. And again, if the police want the dealership to do it, they'll send it out, and then we can pay the person who's doing it. It just saves us the time of having to do that, or the police, they can go pick it up and then take it wherever you take it to have this thing put in. It's like a plastic something. I could send you the mock-up of it. But that's about $24,000. So that's the upfit piece. And again, we would be looking to trade in the paddy wagon that we have now. And again, I got to keep saying it. It broke down while we were using it as our response to COVID-19 over at the MLK, either the food pantry and or the COVID testing. So this money would come right out of the CARES Act money as our response to the residents' COVID-19 and this pandemic. So that's how we fund it.
Okay. All right, great. So again, that's the legislation for this meeting. Anybody have any questions and or concerns?
Counselor, I just need to know if you and Counselor Stevenson are moving all this legislation forward with the changes, with the edits to the special council meeting. It's going to be changed to the special council meeting for Thursday.
Yes, I do support moving all this legislation forward with all the adjustments and the addition of the words trade in on the vehicles that need to be traded in for. And again, Mayor, I ask that you be prepared to discuss the exceptional information as it pertains to the replacement of said vehicles from one vehicle to the other. And I only had one thing that was of concern when I started bouncing my memory around a little bit, because there was a vehicle that was already provided as a command vehicle for the fire department to replace the one that's crashed over there. And I know it's been crashed for a little while. And now we said that today we're giving them another replacement. And I don't remember if there was an additional vehicle swap or move, but I know that vehicle had already been replaced once. So I don't, it was some background like that, but go ahead, sir.
Okay. First of all, thank you. Thank you for moving all of this forward and understanding it. Now, I'm not sure what to call it. And when I had the fire chief in here, he just called it a command vehicle, and he said he wanted it white. So when I was at Cleveland Heights the other day, they have a white command vehicle and a red command vehicle. Yes, you're absolutely right. Last year, I actually forewent the purchase of the safety director's vehicle to allow them to have a vehicle first. So they have a command vehicle now, a white one. This one they're asking for in red. It would be a command vehicle, and it would double as the vehicle that they would use to do the commercial vacant and abandoned commercial property maintenance. But it's just called command vehicle again.
Okay, well, I was just making sure that we didn't say it was going to replace the same vehicle 2 times. So
no, but this one will trade in the old one. This one will be able to trade in the one that was wrecked, whereas we never traded it in before.
Okay, so
right.
All right. So the reality is, just so I'm clear, the safety director got a vehicle that went to the fire department. The fire department's actual authorization is being filled by this vehicle we're going to purchase right now and displace the one that was crashed.
Yes, so they'll have 2 command vehicles. They have 2 fire command vehicles. One will be white, one will be red. Right?
Okay. All right. Well, just so we're all, you know, staying in task and listening to what's being stated as, you know, the way ahead. So yeah, you still owe us an update on the visioning plan. This is not the meeting for it, so just kind of schedule something and make it so that we can all take a look at that. Thank you very much for the things you've done to get us to this point. But just know that we do care enough to do our due diligence to reconcile the things that are of concern. So, Brother President, you have any comments, any notes? Councilor Smith?
He's out of whack.
Yeah, he's on the line, but he can't mute.
Okay, not too worried. Madam Vice President. Oh, matter of fact, maybe I should stick with the agenda.
we didn't give the public an opportunity to speak, but I don't know if we had anybody on the line that wanted to speak.
There are no residents.
Okay, great. Okay, so, Madam Vice President, comments, concerns?
Not at this time.
Great. Anybody else on the line have any, relevant comments and or concerns?
I'd just like to say
None.
thanks.
Okay, well, Mayor King, it's your turn to speak. You have anything else?
Yes, I'd just like to humbly say thank you for moving all this legislation forward. Thank you for helping rebuild this city together.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Dr. Guy, have any comments, concerns, things we can help you with?
No, just to reiterate that those changes and edits will be reflected on the next meeting agenda.
Great. Well, hearing none, it's 6:12 p.m. and the Contracts and Property meeting is adjourned. All in favor?
Good day, councilors. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care, Mayor.
Take
Thank you,
care.
Madam Vice President.
Thank you, Madam Vice
And all
President.
others that joined. Finance, appreciate you.